to welcome Deepak Kaul. So Deepak is a test engineer manager, and he's a passionate guy who do a lot more things on uh, getting to understand people's as well, behavioral and things like that. And he's been a speaker for more than 9 years, almost a decade. And we welcome Deepak. Deepak is going to present this session about building and distributed synthetic monitoring systems with Puppeteer and Jenkins. You can see more about Deepak on his page. You can have a video interview of Deepak as well here. Over to Deepak.
So my name is Deepak. I am a test engineering manager in Red Hat. I have been working in testing for 13 years, almost 13 years now. And I did a lot of test automation, performance testing and stuff in my career. I'm still, even though I'm a manager, but I'm still a very hands-on person in terms of testing as well as test automation. So around to give you all a brief idea about this session. So what the idea I'm trying to expose today is about synthetic monitoring, which is one of the three constituents of testing in production. So as testers, we test the software in pre-prod environments every day, almost every day, right? And testing in production is slowly taking up its rightful place in the industry. So I thought synthetic monitoring is something which is closely related to what we do in test automation as testers. So this would be something which would be very nice to let everyone know that at least starting on something like a scaled down version of an enterprise synthetic monitoring system would be a good point for everyone who is interested to pursue some sort of career or some sort of additional responsibilities in their companies in monitoring and testing in production. So give me a second, I'll share my screen. Show me a thumbs up or a hand signal when you can see my screen.
Yeah, we are able to see your screen.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so what we'll do today is we'll go through some of the basics, and then we'll jump on to the. I hope you have done the lab prerequisites, which was just to have a version of Node and NPM on your machine so that you can run the test quickly. So talking about synthetic monitoring, as I said, synthetic monitoring is one of the three constituents of testing in production, where we actually test in production continuously. The other two types are called real user monitoring and application performance monitoring, APM. So let's start with real user monitoring first. Let's say you have an e-commerce site, right, which is available to people in multiple geos, let's say APAC and North America and EMEA, right? And you want to monitor your website for uptime and availability, and at the same time you also want to keep a check on some of the user statistics. You can do user analytics by using enterprise user analytics tools like Google Analytics or Adobe Omniture, but if you really want the HTTP archive data to see whether any third-party integration, let's say you are using, for instance, you are using a third-party integration of user analytics, right? You are using Google Analytics in your website, which is a third party, right? And one firewall in one of the geo is continuously blocking those calls made to the Google Analytics, right? So because your site is still up, but you are not getting the entire geographical data which you were supposed to get. So if you have a real user monitor running on your website, then you can probably filter by geos and check whether uh, there are some calls which are getting 404 in some of the geos, and you can then take necessary remedial actions to fix those. The second thing is APM. Both synthetic monitoring and real user monitoring are client side, as I said. But APM is something which is server side. So what you do is you run some kind of plugins or agents on the host, either a container or a pod or a VM or a physical machine where your application is running, and then you continuously check through different live graphs and uh, dashboards the performance of CPU, monitor, and other computing resources. And let's say there is a holiday season coming up, and you can see that your CPU usage for your DB or your front end is going up slightly. It's just 2 days before the holiday, and already your CPU usage is going up. Then you can take some necessary measures like doing some horizontal or vertical scaling to make sure that your site does not crash during those high traffic days ahead. So this is about APM. And the third thing, synthetic monitoring, which is obviously the topic for today. As the name suggests, synthetic by definition means something which is artificial and man-made. So in synthetic monitoring, what we do is, let's say you have a website and now you want to check the availability. What you will do is you will simply invoke a browser, let's say every 5 minutes, and then enter the URL of your website and check for a particular locator like XPath or CSN. And if it is shown, well and good, your test pass. If it is not, then maybe it would retry for a second time and then notify you via an email or a webhook to your chat room or whatever chat service you use in your enterprise, right? So this is called synthetic monitoring. It works for both browser-based applications like real web application, as well as your REST API endpoints or SOAP endpoints. So you can do this continuously 24/7, running those checks at smaller intervals, and then gather all the data. Like let's say if one of the check takes usually it takes let's say 20 seconds, and even though it is passing, but you in the graph you see that there has been a result which was, let's say, 50 seconds. So with your application, right? Even though the test is passing, but it is taking more than what it usually does. So you get that kind of data to make some necessary performance tuning on your application. So any questions so far on what is testing in production and what are the three constituents: synthetic monitoring, real user monitoring, and application performance monitoring? So through this workshop, what we are planning, so normally what happens is every enterprise has some kind of monitoring system in place, right? An actual enterprise monitoring system. There are multiple vendors which provide enterprise monitoring, like New Relic and Dynatrace, and Splunk also does. I don't know it is how widespread and successful it is, but Splunk does provide some real user monitoring, and I think synthetic monitoring as well with some plugins. So the thing with having enterprise systems and is that they are costly, obviously, because they have wonderful dashboards and they provide you a lot of actionable data to take some action and stuff like that. And we as individuals, as testers, cannot just sit one day and try to create the same functionality using open source tools, right? That is possible, but not with that would be very monumental effort to replicate what these enterprise monitoring tools do using open source software. So what we did in my work is we had a monitoring software, and then uh, there were times, because our development and testing teams were not really co-located in the same geo, and there were times where the hosted test environment would go down due to some code changes or bug fixes. And when the testers in the India time zone would come to work, and they'll see that the hosted environment is down, and then they would have to wait whole day for their North American counterparts to come and fix the environment and unblock them from testing, right? So we were actually doing continuous testing in production for our customers, but we are not doing continuous testing on in the lower environments like stage and QA, because it's not necessary, right, to do continuous checks on the availability of a test environment. But as we felt need, we thought that let's give it a try and see whether we can set up some synthetic monitoring on our test environments. And that is where this idea came up, to use Puppeteer and Jenkins to create some sort of easy to write and easy to set up system, which would then give every test engineer to the ability to set up monitors for their particular workflows. Let's say if there is a web application and I am working on a particular module, and it is kind of backed by a multi-tier microservice architecture. So there are chances that parts of the application would go down and parts of application will still work. So it would be very easy for testers to just write checks for their module and not for the entire application, because it's not a single big monolith now. It was also one of the motivation which we had before doing this, creating this system with open source tools. Okay, so as I mentioned, if you have a synthetic monitoring app, you know when your application is unavailable, probably before most of your customers know. And you also know if it is distributed, then you also know that there is let's say there have been problems in the sometimes in the Chinese and Australian geos for some of our applications due to maybe the firewall or the ISP issues. And since we had one enterprise monitoring system, we could easily tell that our application is not working really well in these geos. So we got alerted and we made some necessary fixes, or we wrote banners or application on our application that our application is probably facing some performance degradation in this geo. If you belong to this geo, then you might see some performance degradation by the time. So it gives you as a software vendor to become slightly proactive instead of reactive in determining the problems and getting to their solutions. All right. So as I said, for synthetic monitoring, all we need is a browser automation tool and API automation tool. And we also need a tool which can run those checks continuously and preferably in a distributed fashion. When I say distributed, I mean you can run the same check in, let's say, when you think about Jenkins, think about the master slave setup where one host of the Jenkins is located in one geo, and the other machines as its slaves are located in VMs of different geos, like a couple of VMs in China and couple of VMs in Australia and couple of VMs in North America. And then you can probably control how your build runs and on which node of the Jenkins, and that's how you achieve a distributed run of your builds. Okay, so I'm not a software architect or a developer, so this is just a tribal diagram of how this looks. So there is a Puppeteer test repository on GitHub. So what we do is to make it easy, even the testers who don't really write test automation code. So we have made it in a way that it is entirely parameterized. So if you want to create a check for any application, you just need the application URL and you need a health locator, which can be a button or a search bar or anything, right? So let's say if I go to Flipkart and I enter the Flipkart URL in the browser, and I am able to see the Flipkart search bar, at least the home page is up, right? That assurance I can get from this check. And if you really want to see whether search is working or not, then you can probably write a REST API check for search as well separately, and you can write as many checks, individual checks, as the idea is not to make it a complete end-to-end workflow like a real test where a user goes to some place and clicks on this and then goes to the next wizard and clicks on that, and then so longer the test, I'm sure all of you know that longer the test, more are the chances of it getting uh, uh, broken due to a non-deterministic reason. So that's why the idea with synthetic checks is to make them as short as possible, right? You open the browser, you enter a URL, and then you wait for what you expect to be the health locator. Can be anything, right? It depends on what you think as a individual and as a user or as a tester, that if this button comes up on my application, then I am going to assume that my application is loading properly, right? All right, let's go to demo now. So I'll just ask one question: has everyone installed Node and npm on their machines? If you have done that, please give me a hand. Right. Okay.
Yeah, looks most of the people have done.
Yep. So what I'll do now is I'll give you this URL. So go ahead and clone it. I'm pasting it in the chat. And once you're done, please let me know.
Anurag, do you have any questions or do you still have issues? I could see your hand is raised.
Yeah, and probably Aditya and Pranav also raised hands. So if they have any questions for Deepak.
Okay, so let me ask. By the time you clone it and download it, is anyone using a real user monitoring system or any kind of test in production system in their companies? Just give me a hand raise and then I'll ask a follow-up question. Aditya has cloned. Aditya, do you have any ID on your machine where you can open this? So what I'll do now is I'll go through the test.js first.
Any editor will do, right?
Yeah, any editor. So as you can see, this is just 37 lines of code. And when you set this up, you don't actually need to change any kind of code, right? Because I have already given everything I need as parameters from the command line. So when you run this test, so if you provide a process.environment variable as we normally do in JavaScript through the command line, this test would it is the -d parameter equivalent of Maven if you are from the Java background. So it will take test name because this is generic. So that's why we write test name as well, so that people can differentiate one check from another. And then the URL and then allocator, right? So I'll quickly give you a demo. Okay, so can you see my screen? Let me just quickly increase the size.
Yes.
Visible, but you can bigger. Yeah, want to be big.
About now?
Much better.
Okay. So as you can see here, I am right now in this easy synthetic monitor directory. So what I do is I'll say, let's say ATA demo monitor. The URL is flipkart.com, and first we'll copy it. Right, and then I'll go to a browser. We'll open Flipkart, and then after open, I see that as a tester, I see that if the search bar, because as a tester, you know the internals of your application, right? Something which comes from a different microservice or something which is probably part of the initial page load, whatever you decide, right? So let's say I decide that if I see the search bar, I can say that at least my page is not throwing a 404 or any other error, right? It's not maybe getting blocked by any third party plugin on the browsers or that kind of stuff. So what I'll do is I'll try to copy the CSS for this search bar. So if you go here, so this is the CSS, right? Just like Google, it's the same input type with the name Q, right? So very basic CSS. We'll go to the command again. So first parameter is the test name, ATA demo monitor. Second parameter is the URL, which is the Flipkart URL, and the third parameter is the CSS value for the search bar. I'll just clear this and paste it and hit enter. Okay, So you can see that it started the headless Chromium, which means because this is headless, we are not doing browser compatibility testing here, right? What we are planning to do, the purpose of this check is to work in a non-GUI mode, because we are running it, let's say every 30 seconds or every 1 minute. So we cannot rely on an actual GUI browser because it's slightly slower than the headless browsers. And then we are starting a headless Chromium. Chromium is the Chromium engine. In this case, is bundled with the Puppeteer, uh, exe, or in this case it would be asset, because this is a Linux-based operating system. So the Puppeteer package for Node contains the Chromium, so you don't need to think about installing browser dependencies or anything of that sort. So that was one of the primary reason we chose Puppeteer. And we were initially planning to use Cypress, but Cypress is again too heavy for this kind of lean stuff. So then what we are doing is we echo out what we are planning to do. We are verifying the health check for application ATA demo monitor, and then navigating to URL flipkart.com, and we found the health locator and your application sim, the conventional logging which we normally do, right? So if you are running this in Jenkins, so you can probably send this console output to your email for failures, and you will probably know what kind of failure, whether it was a timeout or anything of that sort, which gives you a good head start into debugging your issue. So let's try it, because this is, as I said, generic. Let's try it for any other website. Can one of you tell me one of your favorite website in the chat box?
Guys, feel free to unmute and speak up.
Amazon. All right. So we'll go to amazon.in. All right. So as a tester, let me log out first so that you cannot see my cart, and then try to order me gifts. All right. Okay, so we are in the amazon.in. We have the URL, which is amazon.in, obviously, and then we have again a search box. I'll try to find the CSS for the search box. I got the CSS. I'll try to copy it here. Okay. Input to tab search text box. Very informative. Thanks to Amazon, and then I'll also copy the URL. Okay, so we have URL, we have the so I'll now go to the test again. I'll write the test name. So instead of this, I'm going to paste the new URL, and instead of flipkart.com, it is going to be amazon.in. And instead of ATA demo monitor, we are going to say ATA Amazon demo monitor, right? Let's hit it. Okay, so this also pass. So just to make sure that it's not just passing everything, what we'll do is we'll change the locator a bit, right? So instead of 2, let's write 1 and run the same test. All right. So you can see that health locator could not be found. Your application seems to be down, right? So you notice that it is trying for at least 3 times, right? And I'll show you why is this so. So what we do is just to make sure, because this is, as I said, I as a tester, I don't like retries, to be honest. Whenever I interview people, this is my favorite question to test automation engineers, that what are your views on retries. So people who speak pro of retries normally don't understand the concept that every flaky test, if you can hit, because you are running that application, let's say 2 hours per day, and you are hitting a flaky test, what about a customer and thousands of customers, to be very honest, running that application as part of their 9 to 5 job, right? If it is a banking application and you hit a flaky test and you dismiss it as a network latency or something of that sort, instead of trying to fixing the core issue, maybe a third party API taking too long or any other API taking too long, and you as a tester rely on retries, then probably as a tester you are doing disservice to all those customers. Can be just handful of them, right? Maybe 2 or 3 who will actually face the same issue which your test automation script faced. So sorry for that detour. So I really get emotional when we talk about retries, but in this case, as I said, this is not a functional test, right? This is a monitor, and the purpose of monitor is to categorically tell you whether your application is up or down, right? So we cannot rely on network latency and that kind of stuff here. So that is why I have put 30-second retries, 2 number of retries, which means the overall runs would be 3, 1 normal test and 2 retries. So if it fails, then it tries for at least 3 times before telling me that yes, your application is down, right? So there is, as I said, there is a difference between using retries in a synthetic check versus using retries in a actual functional testing system, functional testing test suite. All right. So as I said, you can see this is very simple. And now the second part is the API test, right? So what I'm in this test.js, I was using Mocha as a test runner, and in http.js, I'm using Chakram as the test runner. So what I do is, again, you just have a test name and a URL, right? And let's say you have a middleware platform or any a Solr engine which you want to test, and which is which is not beyond authentication, then you can use this. Similarly, like the one we did with the UI test, you have to specify the test name and URL and not specify the locator. And then instead of writing, if you go here,
Deepak, the poster that they have error with this name not recognized. There are a couple of.
okay, let me check. People who are getting test name is not an internal or external command have to go to the cloned directory and then do npm i, so that it installs all the required dependencies and node packages before running this command. All right, so give me a second. Okay, so if you look here, what we did was test name is this, URL is this, and locator is this. But for an API endpoint, you don't really have a locator, right? It's not something which is opening in a browser and has a DOM structure of its own. So for an API test, you just write test name, URL, which would be your resource URI, can be, let's say, animalshelter.com/API or /rest/animal/dog/1, right? Anything. But it is just a get call. To be very honest with you, it's not a post or any other HTTP method. It's just a get call. If your server serves that get call with the 200, well and good. If it doesn't, then it will tell you that that URI is down. And instead of using Mocha test.js, you have to use Mocha http.js, because we are using a separate test file for API testing to make the whole monitoring setup a bit modular, so that you don't you're not actually going into the test files and making changes. It's just everything is just plug and play. Okay, and the third thing is about authentication. What about, so we are doing it on Flipkart, right? Most of the enterprise applications which you and me test are not as simple as just public website, right? Or an e-commerce website. Maybe some of you are testing e-commerce website. I'm not trying to demean the e-commerce websites, but if you are a tester who is testing an enterprise application like a payroll for a particular company which is integrated with their SSO login or any other kind of authentication, then you probably have to think about authentication as well in building this distributed system. So what we did is we created a separate file called auth.js, right? So it becomes slightly complex now, because for a UI application where you have to do everything via parameters, you will not only need actual username and password, you will also need the locators of the URL username text box as well as password text box, because you all are experts in test automation, and you know better than me, right? That for entering username and password, even though it is a basic auth which you can probably send through the browser dialog as well, JavaScript dialog as well, but still it is preferred to choose the same path which your user would choose, right? when you are doing a check. So in this case, what we do is we ask user for the test name, URL, the health locator, the username and password. I'm not asking for a click or a locator of the submit button because I'll probably use an enter. So you can see here, after I enter the password, I am actually using the click button, but I think I made this change doing some testing. But actually, I was using the key press enter, the keyboard enter, not the actual login locator here, right? But instead of these, this is still under trial. We are not actually using it at our end. What I plan to do, I'll talk about that when we move to the Jenkins part. What I am planning to do with the checks meant for applications which are beyond an authentication mechanism, right? All right, so let's go to the, okay. Has anyone of you successfully cloned and then ran a simple test after doing npm I?
Guys, feel free to raise your hand.
Okay, take your time. There is no hurry. We have a lot of time. Take your time. If you are facing any errors, let me know. We'll I'll just paste the command for running the test. Give me a second. Yes, I have installed Renorex, but I can you can simply go there, click on inspect, and then drop this here, and it can actually tell you about the search bar. See, input type equal to text, ID is, so whenever they say ID, you have to write hash, right, in CSS. But for the curious, the name of this is Renorex Web Test It. So you can install this plugin if you want some ease of copying CSS locator. It's very handy. And you can also use the selector hub by our friend Sanjay. That's also a great tool for copying locators. Pranav, you haven't done npm I in the test in the clone directory. So Mocha is one of the dependencies which it would download and put in your node modules folder. So go to the clone directory and do npm space I so that it looks for all the dependencies in the package.json and installs them one by one. Anyone got any success? Okay, Krishna. By the time it is installing, if you have any questions related to the concept we talked about, or why we are using Puppeteer and Jenkins instead of any other tool, any kind of questions you have in your mind, or do you feel that this is an interesting area for testers going forward?
A few questions there.
Yes, to Anurag's question, yes, the parameter test name is taken at the runtime. It is the environment variable. So because when you run the test, it would either pass or fail. So there is just one instance of test which would run. So yes, to your question, yes. Can we perform complete end-to-end functional test? Yes, we can. We can do, but it will not give you the browser coverage which your customers would expect, right? Then they'll keep hitting you with that I'm unable to open this in Firefox version this and this, and then you'll have to download Firefox that version or backport your current Firefox version, and or maybe a ton of issues with Internet Explorer 11 or maybe Microsoft Edge, right? Even though this is a very tricky point. So if you see both Microsoft Edge as well as Google Chrome use the same Chromium engine, but their implementation is very different on how they render the actual web page. So you cannot test in Microsoft Edge and expect that you tested in Google Chrome as well, or you cannot test in Chromium and be satisfied that you have covered both Microsoft Edge and Google Chrome. So you can do it, yes, of course you can do it if you are planning to do a good fast regression test suite in head. Definitely do it, but the thing is that it will not give you the browser coverage. All right, test name is not recognized as an internal or external command. That is because you might not have done the npm install, and you need to go to the directory which you cloned and do the npm install so that it goes to the package.json install. So anyone who is coming from the Java background, think of npm I as Maven install. So it has all the package.json has like POM file, all the dependencies which you have to install in your system, right? And then it becomes flawless when it runs. It has everything done. All right, this Slido is good. Do you have any other questions? Any one of you can just put them in the Slido, and I'm looking at Slido right now. I'll take this time to answer those questions. And don't while asking questions, please, because this is just I am here to help you and share my knowledge. So if you have anything, any other related to totally unrelated to synthetic monitoring, and maybe to related to wider test automation or performance testing stuff, please feel free to ask those questions as well, and I'll try my best. I'll try my best to answer. Krishna, did your npm install? Can you share your screen so that I can see? API test automation example. Good question. So let's go to the pet store. Very difficult to find open
Krishna, you have a presenter access now. You can also, once Deepak is done, you can present. So Deepak can help you.
Okay. Okay, so we have an endpoint. So we'll go back to this test. I'll clear. Okay. So we have ATA API demo monitor, right? And in URL, I'll paste this API endpoint. And then I don't need the locator, correct? Because this is an API endpoint. And instead of Mocha, what do we need? We need Mocha, sorry. And instead of test.js, we need ttp.js. All right, it's passing, right? So to check the inverse condition, we need an API which does not throw, which actually throws, does not give a 202. So let's say if they have a v3, right? So it v3 is not present, so it threw a 404, right? But we asserted for 200, so you can say that this check failed, right? So every time your API endpoint would be down, it will, let's say, think about a scenario where this test is running in your Jenkins every 5 minutes, right? So you will get notified as soon as this fails, right? So that is actually a great data to have as a tester when one of let's say you have an application backed by a microservice. So you can write these checks for each of the health endpoint of each of the individual microservice, and then if any of them fails, because there'll be multiple agile teams working on each of those in ideal conditions, right? So you can then you have a better ability to debug which of those microservice failed, and then proactively inform them to get that fixed before wasting your time and getting blocked on testing for your application. All right, so let me go back to Slido.
Deepak, Krishnan can share the screen.
Yeah. Krishna, please share the screen. Mayur, are you talking about the API command?
Are you able to see my desktop?
Give me a second. Not yet, no. Now I can see, yes.
Okay, thank you. Anything missing here? I am not much confident in the NPM.
Okay, give me a second. I don't think it has it has not downloaded.
Oh, okay.
Can you do full npm install instead of npm I? Okay.
Actually, before that,
So it did not work, right?
it didn't work. It didn't work actually. So after that, I did npm I actually. Again, you want to do it will quick only
Give me a second.
because it's already done. So it is just. Or is it looking for some specific version of npm?
No, I don't think anything above 6 should work. Can you do npm -v and we'll see? Yeah, that's okay. Can you do node -v as well? Yeah, that's also okay. I don't think there is a problem with that. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'll quickly fix it and push it back for you to
I guess Anurag also facing the similar issue.
I did not hear that question. Can you repeat?
I said Anurag also facing the similar issue as like Krishna
Okay.
is also
Okay, yeah,
facing
yeah.
this issue.
I think because I just this is a new repository which I created, so I might have I think messed up the package.json file. So I'll quickly fix it and re-upload it in a moment. Let me check any other question in the meanwhile.
Yeah, I'm checking it. There is no questions on this one.
All right, all right.
I have a question for you. Is
Yep.
it only the response time, or is anything other through this?
You can get a lot of data, to be honest. So if you look at we are using Mocha as a test runner. So like JUnit, Mocha has its own results file where it gives you the response time of the test. It also gives you the test name, the standard test output, right? The test name, how much time it took, the status of the test, and stuff like that. So additionally, what we are planning ahead in this project is writing all that data to a MySQL database, and then using a dashboard tool like an open source dashboard tool like Grafana to actually show people what their monitor is doing. Let's say you want to show the monitor data from last 1 month, right? How many times your test ran, which was the slowest result, which was the fastest result, and that kind of stuff. So that you have a grouped data which you can then report on and probably decide whether your application needs some performance tuning or not. So to your question, yes, we have a lot of data points to collect from Mocha, just like JUnit. So everything you have in JUnit XML, you can get that in Mocha test report.
You will show us a report, something like that, or what others we can get it actually, or how
See,
it is?
report we don't show report because we haven't gotten to the other point yet. So let me say we are at 3:20 and we have 30 minutes. So I'll take 10 minutes for fixing this, and then let me quickly go to the Jenkins as well to show you how it works in Jenkins. So I'll go to, let's say, Jenkins. Okay.
I will
So
answer my desktop. Is it fine, or?
yeah, you can keep your desktop there. No problem. Okay, so how do you so once you have the code in the repository, right, either publicly on GitHub or on your local your organization's any source code management tool, right? So what do? You go to Jenkins, you enter the monitor name, and then you say what is the source code management. For me, it is Git, right? So and I'll enter the Git repository. I'll enter which branch to build, and then I'll build it periodically, right? So what I'll do is I'll say h by 5. I'll write the cron statement for this, right? So it will run probably every 5 minutes, correct? This is provided your Jenkins has that number of executors. So let's say your Jenkins has only 4 executors and you are trying to create 30 odd 5-minute monitors on that would work, right? In that case, we need to add more slaves to the Jenkins master. And as I said, the if you see the topic of the title of this workshop, it is building distributed monitoring system, right? I say distributed because I actually want people to use the Jenkins master slave, because then they have the ability to run their checks in different geos, right? So what you need to do essentially is either by yourself, or you can take help from your DevOps or IT teams. You need to get Linux VMs in different geos. Let's say you take 5 Linux virtual machines in different geos, add those virtual machines in your Jenkins master, and then once you build this job, you have to tell it to run control where this build runs, right? And then add the schedule, use an email notification only for unstable builds or failures, right? Because then it will, if you keep it for every build, then it will send an email every 5 minutes, which is undesirable, right? It adds to the noise. So you should ideally receive an email if and only if there is a failure, right? So that is very important to reduce for every kind of monitoring, right? Let's say you are looking after, in a physical real world, you are looking after a shop, right? Which is the shutters are down. You are looking after for the security of the shop, and you hear some noise every 5 minutes from around the shop. So if there is noise every 5 minutes, then you will probably ignore the real noise which you should have paid attention to. That is why it is very important for even for test automation as well, right? If you have 200 test cases in your test automation suite, and out of those 230 test cases fail every build, then you as a tester lose faith in those test cases, right? They're not telling you the complete story which they are supposed to tell. So that's why there is this is very important that you maintain or probably minimize signal to noise ratio by reducing the noise as much as possible. You should get an email or a ping only when your application is down, right? So this is how you build your job for this. So I had built this 61 project in my last talk for the same topic in other conference. So you can see that it has run 9,497 times from that day. So people in Flipkart would probably be thinking, who is this person who opens our website? If they have some kind of user analytics, so they'd be thinking, who is this person who opens our website every 5 minutes and then does not buy anything, just looks for the search bar and then closes the browser. So jokes aside, this is how it is supposed to be done on the Jenkins side. And as I said, if you don't know much about Jenkins, so I can probably demonstrate how to add. So you go to Jenkins, and for that, I don't know how many of you would have Jenkins admin privileges in your organizations, but the thing is that you have to add nodes, right? So if you look here, I have a master which is in India, right? And then I have.
You want to share the screen? It is now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'll share my screen.
Thank you, Deep.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I am in the Jenkins, manage Jenkins nodes and clouds. So what we do, as I said, if you know how to get VMs in your organization, create at least 3 or 4 VMs in different geos. add a Jenkins. There is a Jenkins page which tells you how to add Jenkins agent on the remote machine, and then add that agent here. So it makes a connection between this master Jenkins and the slave nodes, right? So my master Jenkins is based in India, is hosted in India, and I added this APAC node, which is not yet connected because that VM might be down. I added this APAC node in China because that is where I am focusing right now, because we have seen some problems with the application performance in China. So once I restart my APAC VM, it will show green here, and then I can run my builds. Let's say this one, my 61, the Flipkart build. So if you go to configure, you can see that it's not directly coming from the repository, but it is actually the same build. If you look here, flipkart.com, and locator is input queue, right? So one thing which I want to probably emphasize is that this setup, this Puppeteer Linux and Jenkins setup is very reliable. As I said, you can see here, it runs every. I think it runs. It used to run every. Before I disabled it, it used to run every 5 minutes. So you can see, as I said, it has run 9,497 successful builds. So there is no chance of the non-deterministic failure here, because this is very short test. As I said, we need short tests when you are making checks. Plus, it is headless. That also helps. So there are certain things which help in making your test very reliable, and these are some of those things. But there is always a trade-off, right? You cannot use the same set of things for actual functional testing, because then you also need browser coverage and stuff. All right, so this was about Jenkins. I'll go back to fixing in the next 10 minutes. I'll fix the package.json for this project, and then I'll go back to can download it, right? I'll stopping the sharing for 2 minutes. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please add those questions to Slido. I'll be very happy to answer those.
Deepak, while you're building, there is a question. Can you share the path, make the build on Jenkins? I'll read out for you. You can continue fixing it. Just
give me a second. Is it on Slido?
Yep.
Okay. Do you run a single API or locator for each Jenkins job or a group? I run a single, because a synthetic check is meant to be very atomic, Krishna. You cannot, if you run multiple in one build, then you cannot isolate one failure from another, right? Can you please post the part to go and make a build on Jenkins? I wish I could, because this Jenkins is my local instance. I even if I give you the path, you won't be able to access, right? So what you need to do is either try it out on your own, your organization's Jenkins instance, or you can simply create a VM and download it. So installing Jenkins on a VM just takes around 10 minutes, and then you have your own Jenkins to play around, and you can probably set it on fire if you want, because there won't be any actual builds, actual development builds, which would get hurt if you probably mess it up. So having your own Jenkins instance for just playing around is actually a good idea for a test engineer. All right. Okay, I'm going back to fixing that.
while Deepak is fixing the thing for us, if you could post any questions over here, we can take it up even once this is done. Like we can take those questions offline and then we can discuss about it as well. So if you could keep posting your questions, we can take it up once Deepak is done with the fix, and then we can move on.
Krishna, can you try cloning again?
Yeah, sure.
Krishna, feel free to share your screen and then do it.
Hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, I can see.
Anurag, can you try as well if you still have the same issue? Deepak, while Krishna is installing, just a quick time check. We have 10 more minutes.
Yep. So give me a second. So anybody else has any other questions apart from this problem? I hope this is fixed now because I tried creating a separate repository from the same clone and it worked. I hope Krishna's problem is resolved. Any other questions?
So you mentioned that for each locator you are creating a separate job, but for a for a website it has 1,000 of locator, correct? No.
Right.
So how you will manage in the Jenkins actually? That it will be huge, is it right? Or how you do?
No, see, there you don't have to check for every locator, right? As a tester, you know that if you see a particular locator, it is your website is up or not, right? For Flipkart, what you are understanding the purpose is very important. The purpose is making sure that when a customer hits flipkart.com in their browser, they are not presented with the this application is down or 404 or any kind of uh, other pages, banked pages, right? They are not, which are an indication of your application being down due to any thousands of there can be thousands of reasons, right? So by just verifying that you can see the search bar when you enter flipkart.com, you at least get a guidance that your application is up. Whether search is actually working or not is not part of the responsibility of the monitor. That is part of the responsibility of your test team, right? If search is working or not, if you can log in or not, that's not monitoring. That's testing. Monitoring is checking for availability, whether your application is available in India, is available in different geos or not. That's it. So it's single responsibility, as they say in Java, right? So every monitor has a single responsibility. There are, as you said, thousands of locators on a page, but you don't actually need to test for all of them as part of availability. You have to test for most of them in functional testing when you go through the end-to-end workflows, like clicking on something, adding that thing to cart, and doing a checkout, doing the payment. So there would be buttons and text boxes and drop downs and so many things which you would come across. But in monitoring, you don't necessarily do all of those things. You just open a thing, check for health locator, and then you close the browser. That's it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. And this Puppeteer is a open source, or how do?
Yes, yes. Puppeteer is open source. So if you look at Selenium before 4.0, I don't think 4.0 is officially released yet. So before 4.0, Selenium used WebDriver. WebDriver used to use the JSON wire protocol, right? Which was different from what when you do the inspect element on a Chrome, and you see that JavaScript console, and let's say you write alert and you write round braces, and in single quotes you say hello, it will actually show you hello dialog, right? So that console has the ability to run JavaScript and manipulate your DOM, right? And that uses the DevTools protocol. So the Google team which builds Google Chrome actually uses DevTools protocol for testing, and that's where they came up with this tool called Puppeteer. So I think you are good to go now, Krishna. Oh my God. Can you just write mocha test.js? I don't know. Maybe in Windows we write environment variables in a different way. I don't know. Let me check.
I think Mocha also not found. It looks like.
Let me check. Give me a second. Have you run any npm commands in Windows command line before?
Not really. Today only I installed npm. Not really. Means on the node will run actually on Windows, as I know.
Yeah.
I have not done the setup earlier.
Are you using PowerShell or just the terminal?
No, this is just a command prompt. You want me to run in PowerShell?
Can you try in PowerShell? Probably it should work there.
Yeah, it's understanding looks like. Yeah, maybe this time some other error maybe. Okay, again.
Can you do an npm I again here? I don't think an npm is the issue. Yeah, I think if you that's an optional dependency, right?
Yeah.
Give me a second. I have to see how to run. Let me first confirm if Anurag, do you have Microsoft Windows operating system too?
Yes.
Okay.
Deepak, in the interest of time, so can we connect with the people and we can update the repository as well?
Yeah.
Because we are.
Okay, what
just
I'll do is
more.
I'll update the repository with a specific Windows command. I think I have found a page on Stack Overflow which says that it is done differently in PowerShell. So it is probably an operating system issue. But that aside, if you run it, let's say if you have a Jenkins, that won't be a Windows machine, right? Because that will probably be a Linux server. A Jenkins, a VM would be a Linux server on which you'll deploy Jenkins, right? So in Jenkins, it should work fine. It should work perfectly. So, and there is no reason to worry if you try that in a Jenkins environment. But for specifically for testing and playing around in a Windows laptop kind of environment, what I'll do is I'll add some steps in my repository, and I hope those steps, and then I'll probably try on my wife's laptop to make sure that those steps are working, and then add those steps to the readme file in the repository. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Deepak, it's a very good session. Like indeed, like we stuck with some things, but it is very good insights for people on how to do a synthetic monitoring. And we take this opportunity to thank you for this great session, and it was a great learning for all of us. I thank you on behalf of the ATA team and all the participants. Thank you, Deepak.